Here are over a dozen garden tools that are actually worth the money. Gardening, like many hobbies, has a whole bunch of gadgets and gizmos and different tools that are all marketed towards you, especially as a beginner, and a lot of them are just useless and worthless. And I have bought and used a lot of that stuff, and most of it is just rubbish. But there are a few things that I've picked up over the years that are really, really handy to have around. A lot of them just make gardening easier, or they're tools that you use every day. So here's my list of the top dozen or so tools or gadgets that I use nearly every day in the garden, or make gardening way easier, and half of them you don't actually buy from the gardening aisle of a store. So sit back, hit that full screen button, and let's dig in. Side note, give us a green thumbs up if you love how many snow peas we get this time of year. We're getting about half a kilo a day off just this tiny garden. Before we jump in, I do just want to mention you really don't need a whole lot to start gardening. A lot of it is just extra help. All you really need is like a little shovel, some gloves, maybe a seed tray, a pair of hand pruners, and I would not buy anything else in probably my first year apart from soil as you go, maybe some more little pots as you go, and obviously something to grow in. That's really is all you need. Don't overcomplicate it. The first one are these pump pressure spray bottles that come with an adjustable nozzle. I use these so much. They're really great for seedlings when you can't bottom water, because it lets you come in, really control the pressure, the spray width, and also get in underneath so you're not just spraying the foliage, and you can get really accurate, as well as you can really mist it off to make sure that when you have tiny seedlings, especially in their first couple days after germination, where you're not going to displace them the same way that you might with actually just using an overhead watering can. Because I have had it happen a few times where you have your seedlings in a seed tray, they really don't have proper roots yet. You dump in your typical watering can or hose, and then it just completely scoops out and displaces those seedlings. This eliminates all those options, and it's really easy to use and ergonomic. The next one that all veggie gardeners need but rarely think to get is actually just a salad spinner. Because when gardening, it's actually really important to think about how we interact with that garden in the day-to-day. And for me, one of my favorite things to do is coming out at mealtime, grabbing something out of the garden, and then that going straight onto your plate. And one of the issues with lettuce is that it gets stuff over it all the time. Tiny little bugs or bits of soil or dirt or God knows what from the universe landing on it. So you do need to give it a rinse. But the thing is, wet lettuce sucks, especially going in, say, a wrap or a salad. If lettuce is wet, salad dressings don't actually stick to the leaves, and it makes your salad really bland. So getting your leaves washed and then dry is really important. So having a salad spinner, in my opinion, is actually one of the first really good buys when you're growing your own food at home. And this is just a cheap one from Kmart. And you'll be shocked after rinsing it and trying to, say, flick it off, how much water then ends up coming out at the end. And this is genuinely from dinner tonight, by the way. We had lamb souvlaki's. The next one I've talked about a whole lot in my early videos and on my TikTok, but since then I have had a lot more YouTube subscribers, so worth mentioning again. But I cannot state enough how incredible grow bags are. Grow bags are this felty sort of material that's an alternative to a pot, and what's so excellent about them is that you can never overwater your plants because the entire thing is drainage. Instead of a conventional plastic pot where you've only got a couple of drainage holes at the bottom, the entire thing is drainage. And especially with a lot of like shrubbing plants and that sort of thing, they love the soil environment that's created inside a grow bag so much more than these conventional pots. The next one's one of the ones that I really wish I'd clued onto sooner. I now sort of see them as a bit of a almost duct tape of the veggie garden, where usually when I don't know how to do something, this is the answer. They're the most cheap and versatile thing in the garden by far. And that's bamboo stakes, which if you're international, might not seem like that crazy of a thing, but in Australia, these really aren't in vogue. These have never really caught on as a garden utensil. You can buy a pack of these 180 centimeter ones for like $7, $8, something like that. And no matter what angle you look at my garden from, you will see some bamboo stakes. You use them for easy DIY trellising. I use them for markers. You can use them to draw out straight lines when planting rows on beds. I've used them as temporary fencing. They're honestly awesome, especially because one of the mistakes that you can, mistakes, it's a steak. One of the mistakes you can really run into is a lot of the trellises that you can buy in stores aren't actually tall enough for a lot of the plants that you want to grow. one of the only economical ways to get something that is 180, 200 centimeters tall is actually just by buying bamboo stakes. For me, when in doubt, the answer generally is bamboo stake. I actually use bamboo stakes to help hold in my bird net covers for my garden beds. Something else that should be on this list are my bird net covers, which are super durable, they're UV resistant, they last years, they cost only about $10 per bed, which is so much cheaper than the purpose-built ones that you can buy online or in stores, which are always really crap. Don't buy them. This is something that I will cover in 1 or 2 videos time, so make sure to hit subscribe. They genuinely are like the best thing. It's getting dark. I'm gonna have to pick up the pace. Now, when bamboo stakes don't work, there is only one thing that I jump to, and they're honestly one of the best lifetime purchases that you can make in the garden, and that's these T-posts, or sometimes called star posts. If I had my time over again, I would jump straight to buying exclusively the tallest ones that I could get. They will cost you about $30 each, but honestly, for how much you use these, I use them so much because they're quite heavy. I use them a lot for bed coverings over winter. I will roll a cover over the bed, use these to weigh it down. Cardboard, when I'm building a new garden area, use this to weigh it down. And then over spring and summer, I make a lot of my trellises out of these, especially for tomato plants. It's the most like buy it for life purchase that you can make when it comes to trellising, I think. And it's also just super simple, is you just put 2 of these apart and then you just run some twine in between them, and you actually have a trellising system that can support a whole lot of tomatoes, which I cannot say the same for a lot of these store-bought trellises. You can only get 1 or 2 plants on them and then they start to collapse. These are like crazy. The next one, I only got this year, but by far, I think it's the best $30 you can spend in gardening, especially if you're starting a lot of stuff from seed, and I really hope that you are, because it saves you a lot of money. And that's a heat mat, especially if you can do what I do, and I got a heat mat that has a temperature probe so it can make sure to keep that soil temperature at whatever temperature you set it to. And just in case you didn't know, one of the main signals that seeds are looking for to know when to germinate in nature is the temperature of the soil. So by having a heat mat underneath your seed trays, my soil germination times have gone from being 7 to 10 days for most varieties, which is what you would expect to see on the back of a seedling packet, to 2 to 3 days, most seedlings will start to pop up. It's genuinely astonishing how quickly it will make your seeds start and your seedlings develop. Especially if you're trying to start to work towards self-sufficiency, it's just the best investment you can make. The next one, oh my God, it solves such a problem that anyone who grows their own garlic definitely knows. And that's when you grow your own garlic, you'll always end up with a couple of plants that just don't get on as well, but they still develop a bulb, and you end up with a whole bunch of tiny cloves. Not tiny, but small enough to be really annoying to pull the garlic paper off and then actually use in your cooking. Now, this is a specific brand mention, but this is not sponsored. It's just the only product that I have found that does this. And side note, I'm very thankful for the growth of this channel, because I've started getting a lot of like sponsorship offers, and let me tell you, I have been rejecting a lot of them because I'm not going to shell anything out to my audience that I don't actually love or believe in. So, because generally I have such a high commitment to just trying to help my audience grow their own food. And if you want to help keep that train going, just leave a comment on this video. It really does help in the algorithm. But the product that I'm talking about is Slice make this garlic crusher that I don't know how, I think it's magic, is you can put in garlic, paper skin still on, crush it, and all of the garlic, all of the actual garlic in there comes out, and then all that's left inside is the garlic paper. It's like ridiculously impressive. It's a bit expensive. It's like $40 plus for a garlic crusher, but if you grow your own garlic and you know that pain of having all those tiny cloves left over, it's totally worth the investment. The next one is, I think, in the gardening aisle at Bunnings, the most valuable tool, at least to me, the one that I actually use. It's the #1 tool that, if all my tools went missing, probably the first thing that I buy again because of how versatile they are and how much I use them. And that's actually just a decent set of these big loppers. These are obviously made to prune off like sizable tree branches and that. And if you're a long-term fan of the channel, you might notice that Hang on. Ugh. You might notice that there used to be like 4 trees back here. Well, apart from a couple of them with the main things, they were nearly all actually taken down with these, because these did a better job than a chainsaw did anyway, because I could just disassemble the whole tree really easily and then just sort it out in my different piles of stuff going in the greenway, stuff going in the compost, and then stuff going for firewood. And out the front, I had to pull out a whole row of hedges, which, guess what? They were thin enough that this just did the whole job, and it took like 15 minutes. No fuss, they're awesome. By the way, try to jump to the like $50 ones. The $10 ones do a good job, but only for like a year. Watering cans. You definitely need one. Most people will only go for this. This isn't what's on this list. If you only have $9, these plastic ones where all they do is they're plastic and a watering can and they have like the daisy shower head, that's fine. That's not what this is about. There's one type of watering can I would never buy, because I did buy it and it sucks. And that's these ones that are like the unibody plastic that have the nice tip. These are only good for house plants that you bottom water in like small pots. If that is all you ever do, they're fine. Any other application, they're useless, mostly because you can't control the flow of water. It will just gouge out all of your seedlings. And then it doesn't hold enough water to do a lot of the actual bottom watering that you might want to do out here. If I could only have one watering can, I would have one that does this, where it holds a lot, at least like 9 liters, and then it has the shower head that also screws off, where you then get the singular head, because this is what you want. And honestly, the majority of the time I'm using a watering can, I'm fertilizing with this through bottom watering, and then every now and again, actually using the shower head. If I only had one, I'd have this. It's empty. This next one, now that I love. Opinel make these mini sickles that are so good for harvesting leafy greens and anything with a soft stalk. I much prefer using these day in, day out than the hand pruners, especially when it comes out and actually just grabbing something, because they're so effortless and you can actually grab exactly what part of the plant you want and then pull it off, and then it's done and it's great. Just, you've got to get them when they're actually cheap. Sometimes they'll be like $20 on Amazon, and then other times you Google them and they're like $60. You've just got to wait till they come around. The one thing I have learnt the hard way about these though is, if you have one, do not let it go near a hammer, because you get this really weird I don't get it. Oh, gee, just like that, the day is over, and so is the video. So let me know if there's anything else that you have that might be suited to this list, things that really help you get out in the garden, maybe that are a bit unconventional, or that are just really good value that you use for life, or are super versatile and you find so many uses for. What have I missed? Let me know. Thank you so much, and I'll see you. Was that a bat? I'll see you next time.